Beth offers her services as a financial advisor to a reluctant theater owner, Nate. As she finds innovative ways to help him, she keeps stumbling upon a recurring number from a fortune cookie. Beth gets ready by listening to the business news in the morning. She completes her target of a 5-mile workout and sets the timer for 5 minutes for her food. Her client, Mr. Morgan, is happy with the retirement plan she has made for him. She promises to send him the final figures at market close. She meets her sister, Kat, before her dinner with her best friend, Coley, at a new Chinese restaurant. Some nurses from Kat's ward have been there, and she has received great reviews. Kat gifts Beth an angel ornament to thank her for volunteering with the children's theater. She wants the Christmas angel to watch over her sister. Kat wants to warn Beth about something before her meeting at the theater. Kat's daughter, Riley, comes to meet Beth, and she congratulates Riley for bagging the role of Scrooge in the play. Kat reminds Riley she needs to do some homework before practice. Beth notices how her shy niece has opened up, and Kat credits the theater for it, since the theater means so much to Riley. Kat is glad Beth has offered to help them sort out their finances for free. Kat thinks the founder of the theater, Nate Matthews, might be a challenge. He hates finance people and is already referring to Beth as a bean counter. But Kat asks her to try because Riley and the kids are depending on her to fix the theater's financial situation. Beth hopes the angel will give her some good luck. At the Garibaldi Theater, Nate helps the kids warm up before practice. He asks them to take a break soon. Nate's house manager, Phil, who handles everything off stage, asks how it's going. Nate loves working with the kids because they have no egos. He gets irritated when he gets a reminder about his meeting with Beth. He doesn't understand why he needs someone like her. Phil points out that the theater is running an annual deficit. He thinks it's great Beth has agreed to work pro bono. He asks Nate to give her a chance because their theater needs it. Nate thinks their classes are sold out and the show will do great, but Phil points out that their finances are still a disaster. Nothing is computerized, and all the bills are in a goblet from the ghost of Christmas past. Coley feels this will be her year after she focused too much on Leos last year. They were her supposed astrological match. She wants to date Pisces this year, who are easygoing, affectionate, and loyal. Coley can see love in Beth's future and feels like she's glowing. Beth is very busy with work and has no time for dates. Christmas is in 15 days, and she lists out all the errands she has to do. Coley gets a fortune cookie that asks her to not let statistics do a number on her. The one Beth picks out seems like a poem. It claims that her dream will come true with some Christmas magic if she makes a wish. It also claims the number 624 will help her with this wish. Coley suddenly realizes the time is 6:24 and asks Beth to make a wish quickly. Beth doesn't want to, so Coley slips in the fortune inside her bag before they leave. Coley asks her to check her bag at home and insists she make that wish. Beth closes her eyes to make one, but feels it's silly and goes off to sleep. When she wakes up the next morning, her alarm rings at 6:24 instead of 6:30. Even her bike claims she completed 624 miles. Her timer also gets set for 6 minutes 24 seconds, even after he specifically asks for 5 minutes. She chooses to ignore all this and heads out for her meeting with Nate. She meets Phil out front, who wishes her luck with Nate. She drops hot coffee on Nate while trying to navigate her way and uses Scrooge's wig to clean it. She feels bad since she was trying to help, but they formally get introduced. She asks for his financial records and learns that nothing is computerized. He doesn't have a finance person, and the box marked invoices actually has items for clown practice. He finds some invoices stashed in a cup and a skull and gives her all the bills he can find. She asks Nate to box up all his receipts, expenses, and invoices and send them over to her house. Nate knows all this must look unorganized to her, but he assures her that things always work out for his theater. He thinks it's the magic of the theater. Beth rants about the chaotic mess at Nate's place with Coley. When Coley notices a photo, she points out how good-looking he is. She even gets distracted by a cookie with the number 624, just like from her fortune cookie. Beth claims she hasn't made a wish yet, but the number still keeps popping up for her. She thinks of it as a statistical coincidence. Coley thinks it's a sign and asks Beth to take the fortune seriously. Beth goes over all the boxes Nate sent. She assures Mr. Morgan his finances are in great shape. She wants to share some numbers with him, but her calculator seems to be stuck at the number 624. She claims she's having technical difficulties and promises to call him back. Nate and Phil are excited about their opening night getting sold out. Phil asks about his meeting with Beth, who Nate feels is all doom and gloom. He is sure they won't see her for a while because he gave her a lot of paperwork. Beth has already finished the paperwork and has computerized everything. She tries to explain to Nate that his expenses are increasing while the income is decreasing. He thinks the ticket sales are strong, but she recommends boosting advertising or leasing out the venue for special events. She bluntly claims he needs to somehow increase the income if he wants to stay in business. She tries to show him a pie chart, but he makes fun of it. He doesn't think any of her graphs will work because the theater for him is about magic. She jokes about his income magically disappearing, so he calls her a Scrooge. Beth informs Kat how difficult it is to work with Nate. He doesn't have a proper filing system and isn't willing to listen. She feels he keeps talking about the magic of the theater without understanding the issue. Beth knows if he doesn't manage to get an influx of cash by the end of this year, the theater will have to close. Riley overhears them, but Kat assures her Beth is doing everything to keep it open. Beth can't see Riley disappointed and promises to do her best. Kat knows Beth doesn't give up, but Beth just needs Nate to take her seriously. Kat suggests changing her tactics since Nate is into arts and theater. Beth knows her graphs and charts won't work with him. Since Nate is directing A Christmas Carol, Beth gets an idea of sending him a ghost. When Nate is practicing lines to address the ghost of Christmas yet to come, Beth directs the attention to herself. She is dressed as the ghost of Christmas past, who wants Nate to worry about his theater's welfare. She acts out the part and informs him about his heavy debts and terrible filing systems. She asks him to change his ways to escape his certain fate. Nate is impressed by this approach and agrees to work with her. She has read the reviews of the theater and knows they're doing well, but she needs Nate to understand how important a financial plan is. They urgently need a quick influx of cash before the end of the year. She knows he will have to work extra, but feels Christmas is the best fundraising time. She thinks it's important to pay his debt by the end of the year. He asks her to stay for rehearsal so she can learn more about the business. Beth is more than glad to see Riley in action, and they watch as Riley completely owns the stage. Nate claims he earlier had a regular job selling pet supplies. He only stayed there 6 weeks, after which he used all his savings. He leased out an old theater that was going to be bulldozed 7 years ago. Since then, he has worked very hard on the theater. He loves working with kids because they have a great imagination. He feels they also have a sense of magic, one that adults seem to have lost. He admits he was a shy kid just like Riley. The theater helped him open up. He realizes she is feeling cold and offers his scarf before they head in separate directions. Riley wonders if Beth thinks people like Scrooge can change in real life. Beth remembers something her mother said about how only love can change people. Kate asks Riley to prepare for Christmas shopping. Riley asks Beth about Nate and thinks he likes Beth in a way a boy likes a girl. She asks Beth to notice how he mirrors her the next time she meets him. Kat asks Riley to get ready and thanks Beth for giving Nate another chance. She informs Kat about their walk last night and thinks he can be charming. Kat gives her the same look she did the last time she set Beth up with a man. Beth claims Nate is a client, so it's best if they keep things professional. That night, Beth tries to think of some ideas and asks Nate if they can raise money by clearing out his clutter. He claims the clutter has sentimental value, but agrees to consider a garage sale. Beth sets her alarm for 6:30 again and hope it works. It doesn't, so Beth drags Coley for a power to change her morning routine. Beth is worried because her bike also seems to be having a glitch with the number. Coley has been expecting this after some research. She knows 624 is an angel number that people see again and again. This one is extra special and associated with her heart's desire and life partner. Beth admits she did make a wish on the first night. According to Coley's research, Beth will keep seeing the number till she fulfills her heart's desire. Beth is forced to admit this is more than a statistical coincidence, but she asks for Coley's help with something related to Nate. Beth suggests a white Christmas sale to Nate, since they need around $25,000 to cover his expenses and unpaid bills. She knows they can't get that much from the sale, but she knows they can pull off another fundraiser before Christmas. Nate reminds her that is in 11 days, but Beth thinks she can make it happen. She introduces him to Coley, who can have their website ready by the next day. Beth offers to help with the domain name and e-commerce platform. Coley also needs Nate's banking details. He knows Phil can help with the list of people they need to invite. Nate is worried about selling all his things. Beth feels like he needs to, because of his financial situation. She offers to discuss this over pizza so she can bribe him. She discusses how Riley asked if people can change and what she told her. Nate calls Beth a folder for the way she's eating her pizza. He informs her of the 3 kinds of people who eat pizza, apart from the unconventional folders. There are the traditionalists who eat tip to crust. People like him like to eat it crust to tip. He feels like her being a folder means she is efficient, neat, a multitasker, and likes to get things done. She notices him mirroring her gestures just like Riley mentioned, and finds it funny. She doesn't say anything and asks about his pizza eating type. He claims he's a non-traditionalist who likes to do his own thing. They discuss the sale, and she claims the next step is to price everything out. He acts out all the items he shows her for display. He brags about his sword, but she lowers the price when she realizes it's not real. He also tries to be a genie granting wishes. She plays along and asks for an electric car and $1 million for the theater. Her third wish is for him to stop acting out everything. Nate admits he is procrastinating. He's having second thoughts about selling the stuff with so much history. She reminds him about the debt, but he asks her to think outside the money for once. She thinks he is in denial, and he teases her about acting like his therapist. It's soon time for his class, so Beth suggests organizing all the stuff with Coley. He asks her not to do anything till he gets back, but Beth still organizes everything because she feels there's no time. She wants to price it out and put it online soon. She's sure Nate will love it when he looks at the site. She chooses Riley as their model, who tries out all the costumes while Coley snaps pictures. They think the site looks great, but Beth stops Coley from going live. She wants to show the site to Nate first. Nate has noticed the stuff missing and accuses Beth of going behind his back. She claims they waited for him before going live. He reminds her he asked her to hold off. He doesn't want to look at the site because he is trying to preserve memories from all the productions. He knows she is all about the numbers, and the sentiments don't mean anything to her. Beth feels bad about not understanding how much those items mean to Nate. She was counting on the money, but the sale is off. She doesn't know what solution Nate will agree to. She knows he doesn't think there's anything wrong with the theater. Kat is sure people would want to help if they knew the theater was in trouble. She knows thousands of kids have probably enrolled in the program over the years. Beth feels they can reach out to just their parents and asks for donations, but she wants something more personal and suggests a holiday fundraiser. Beth agrees to make time for it, but worries if people will show up so close to Christmas. Kat knows if these parents have seen their kids grow like her, they will surely make the time. Beth decides to talk to Phil and see if they can use the theater. Phil knows this is the busiest time of the year, but their theater has an opening the next day. Beth is sure she can make this work in 24 hours. She wants to make it more personal so she can show Nate how much he means to the families. Phil agrees to work with her and suggests they keep it a secret from Nate. They all start decorating the stage and play around with the props. Nate turns up backstage for his scheduled class. Phil claims that has been rescheduled to 6:30 that night and tries his best so Nate doesn't go to the stage. Nate feels he's acting weird and notices paint on Phil's hands. Phil claims he's doing some touch-ups and asks Nate to come that night. Beth is worried because none of the parents have turned up yet. Nate will be there soon, and they ask the parents to come at 6. Phil starts panicking, so Beth suggests putting the blame on her and asking Nate to cancel that night. Nate turns up and asks why there are a lot of people outside the doors. Beth and Phil get excited, and everyone turns up to support Nate. He greets everyone and thanks Beth for setting this up. She claims it was team effort and wants him to know how people showed up in a day's notice. She apologizes for the white Christmas sale, but Nate thinks it was his fault for overreacting. He knows she was trying to help and feels bad for not treating her well. Everyone encourages him to dance, so he asks Beth to join him. He feels bad for acting like a child, but she makes him feel better since he works with children. Nate feels like he has been seeing her as a bookish number cruncher. He has started noticing something else and wants to explain it, but people interrupt them and ask him to make a speech. Nate takes the stage and claims he doesn't like surprises, but can make an exception for this one. He thanks the parents and their children and feels humbled by their support. He knows they can continue doing this for years if they help like this. He thanks Beth for organizing everything and showing him the error of his ways. He claims he is a better man and thanks her from his heart. Nate walks Beth home and feels grateful to her. It meant a lot to him when parents told him how much the theater means to the kids. She reminds him that they need another fundraiser before Christmas. After watching the kids that night, Nate suggests involving them. He jokes about making them sing for their supper. Beth takes that as an idea and suggests a caroling fundraiser with costumes. She knows she can get Coley to put that on the site, and they agree to plan it soon. Coley teases Beth about the caroling and her dance with Nate. She also feels the speech Nate gave for her was very special. They spot a book about angel numbers, and she asks if Beth is still seeing the number. Beth just wants to fix her timer, which also seems to be stuck. Coley spots a perfect gift Beth can give Nate, which is a 1914 Gold Guild cover edition of A Christmas Carol. Beth decides to buy it for him. Nate is proud of the kids' rehearsal. He's finishing early that day for the carolers. As the kids leave to get ready, Beth shows Nate the caroling schedule for that night. He asks Beth to tag along, but she claims she can't sing. She feels busted when Riley informs Nate that Beth used to sing to her. Beth doesn't have a costume, but Nate has a perfect one in mind. His only other choice was Monkey, but he feels she looks very cute as a cat. They take requests and sing Silent Night for a Woman. After the kids are done, Nate keeps smiling as Beth sings her solo. They get a check at the end of the night for $1,000, which Nate feels is too generous. He enjoyed that night and wants to do more things like this. Beth wants to help him make time for himself and suggests a spreadsheet with ideas. Seeing his expression, Beth knows he wants her to go with the flow more. Beth takes some time off work to discuss something with Kat. She asks if Kat sees her as a sensible and rational person. She is doubting that because she has been seeing that number everywhere. She explains how her timer, bike, and alarm seem to be stuck at the same number. She explains how Coley thinks it's an angel number. She admits she made a wish for a fairy tale romance and a family. Kat thinks this has something to do with Nate and that she's falling for him. She asks Beth and Nate to come over that night for an impromptu dinner. Riley tries to figure out their obsession with mulled wine, but decides to stick to her hot chocolate. They all toast to the best production of A Christmas Carol and the best Scrooge. Kat is worried about the play being scary because of ghosts, but Riley thinks they are the coolest part. Kat even mentions the recurring number Beth has been seeing, which makes Nate curious. She refuses to share what the angel number is, but Nate insists they all need magic in their lives. He suggests Beth needs to believe, and they toast to it. Beth and Nate discuss how magical this time of the year seems. Nate claims it doesn't matter if he believes or not in the angel business, but he asks her to be open and go with the flow about it. Nate has decided something they can do to enjoy the season and asks if she can take the full day off the next day. He asks her to dress warm and claims it's a surprise. The next morning, Beth doesn't care if her alarm is still stuck at the number. She smiles when her bike refuses to record the 5 miles. Nate wants to start the day with a random act of kindness. Their first stop is shoveling a driveway. He claims the rest of the day is a surprise and holds a Christmas pop quiz as they work. He asks about her favorite Christmas song and movie. He learns her favorite scene is in the end, when the couple gets together and kiss. He is surprised she's a hopeless romantic. She decides to throw snowballs at him, and they get into a full-fledged fight. When they're done, he asks her to follow him to their next stop. They organize a gift wrapping stall for charity and have a lot of fun as they encourage others. She thanks him for the magical day. He claims he would love to eat with her, but has an early morning. They decide to wrap up and meet for the show the next day. Coley is surprised that Beth is whistling and giving Santa a black beard on the cookies. She is also open to making an extra batch of cookies. She feels there's something wrong with Beth because she's going with the flow. Beth claims she just had a good day, and Coley knows this is about Nate. Coley notices the timer and is sure Beth will keep seeing the number till she acts on it. Beth clarifies that she wished for love in general, but Coley thinks it is still somehow related to Nate. Beth is having doubts because she feels they are very different. She is worried because Nate is not taking the theater's finances seriously. She agrees to talk to him about it, but still doesn't know how Nate is related to the angel number. Beth brings Christmas cookies for Nate before the show, and he asks if they can hang out later. Before leaving, she stumbles upon a final notice on his desk and looks worried. Beth is proud of how well Riley is performing, and Nate keeps encouraging the kids from the backstage. Riley comes to hug Nate after the show, but Kat takes everyone away with an excuse so Beth and Nate can be alone. As Phil starts shutting down the lights, Beth compliments him for putting on a great show. Nate is very proud of Riley and how amazing all the kids were. He notices that Beth looks a little worried and asks her about it. She mentions the bill on his desk for $3,500. Nate claims he didn't have that bill earlier. When he got it, he didn't want to give it to her because he knew she will worry. He explains that the notice is for the lease, but still seems to think no one can evict them. He feels they go through the same charade every year, and something always works out. Beth thinks he should be more worried because he won't have a stage to put on his production if he doesn't do anything. He feels like she's worrying for no reason, but she reminds him that a lot of people depend on him. She hopes he can take ownership, otherwise he will be failing a lot of kids. He thinks she only looks at the money and asks where her passion is. Beth is done trying to help him and wishes him luck to figure this out himself, but she asks him to never accuse her of not having passion and kisses him before leaving. Coley doesn't like that Beth is working on Christmas Eve. She has been moping all week after her spat with Nate. Coley wants her to celebrate a little. They're meeting at Kat's place that night, but Coley drags her to the Chinese restaurant first. After they have dined, Beth realizes this is exactly what she needed. She's still seeing the number, and Coley thinks it's because she hasn't fulfilled her heart's desire yet. Beth asks her to forget angel numbers for a while and focus on things they can prove. Another fortune cookie comes for them, but Beth refuses to pick one this time. Coley urges her to pick another one, but Beth is worried about another number that makes her wake up earlier, since she keeps insisting. Beth decides to pick one, but she doesn't read what's on it. She gets a message from Kat and asks Coley to hurry out. As they start leaving, they don't notice her fortune asking Beth to believe. At Kat's place, they discuss how well Riley's play has been doing. Riley informs Beth that Phil has been directing the show all week, while Nate stayed locked up in his office. Beth doesn't want to discuss him and asks if anyone needs something from the kitchen. Riley has a sinister smile while she asks Beth to heat up her hot chocolate. Beth finds Nate waiting for her in the kitchen with a presentation. He shows her the items he sold with some help and how he managed to raise more money than the target Beth had set for him. He asks her to give him another chance like Scrooge should get. She kisses him, and Kat pretends she didn't know he was there. They pretend to be busy with work, while Nate asks Beth to celebrate his half-birthday with him. Beth realizes he was born on June 24th, or 624 like her number. She realizes this is the work of a Christmas angel, and kisses him again.